I am going back to Indiana. Tell Bears man, hold on, we're going to show. That's a great Jack group is saying they're going back to Indiana. Could the Bears do the same thing? We'll give you our thoughts. In the NBA, the Chicago Bulls take a thon is back. In the Olympic hockey, the USA women's national hockey team won the gold medal. Can the USA men's hockey team follow shenanigans and thoughts? And we'll get into some more sports media news and other junkets as well. That and a whole lot more. So Friday Funk Edition. Second City Sports starts now.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Keep him on the field. And this one, a drive into left center field. Going back is Churio at the wall. Get out! Robert Jr., his fourth of the season. And the Sox take the lead 2-1.
Armstrong gets into another one. Sends Edman back. He's watching it land in the stands. What a night from Pete Crow Armstrong. Goes wide, up the guard again. And he scores. What a play!
On Jordan Bennington, no chance at all for the Blues netminders. Connor Bedard. Wow.
Getting what a pass. Buzelis with the fade on the drive.
J motions left. They're blitzing. It's picked up. Caleb throws. Middle of the field. Loveland catch. Breaks away the 30. Loveland 20. Loveland 10. Loveland end zone. Touchdown Bears.
Welcome to another fun-filled Friday Funk edition of Second City Sports. You're locked and loaded, and we're live in living color right here on Sports Soul Chicago, along with Miss LaKeena McGee, which is she. I'm Sidney Brown over here. You know it's me. You can follow yours surely on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You follow LaKeena McGee on the Twitter, execute and IG.
Be sure to download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Please follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms on Facebook, X, Instagram, and YouTube. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
We are unapologetically fun, and we have very definite opinions. If you have any definite opinion, do not 2 hour extravaganza we call a Sports Talk Radio Show. You better hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. LaKeena will get the up on the screen for you. But if you decide to troll and or do something silly, dumb, or stupid, I've given LaKeena full powers to give you dumbos to build and be a boot.
Toodles.
But before we begin, shout out to our live gang. That's LIVE Live Entertainment Gang. That's checking us out live in living color on our Facebook and YouTube channels at Sports Zone Chicago at 12:20 p.m. Central Standard Time. But as always, much love to the replay gang that's checking us out on the replay. Also at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook and YouTube channels. Don't you ever forget our motto where we talk sports, music, or entertainment. We will always provide.
We provide you with some of the best here on Second City Sports. Of course, we got our girl Christine Matt from KXRB back with us today. She'll get her thoughts on the Super Bowl since she didn't get a chance to do it last week. And also, too, we've got we'll talk a little sports media news, some history made in the Olympics as it approaches its final weekend of competition as U.S. women make history both on the ice and on the slopes as well. We'll talk about that. Excuse me. College hoops, there are a couple of matchups and one that's a little bit weird, the placement of it, especially this late in the season, but we'll talk about that. And the Bulls Techathon is back on, folks, as they're already as there are doubts that they lose to Toronto in their first game back from the All-Star break. We'll have that in the rest of the week the rest of the night from last night in the NBA, including a big matchup in the Eastern Conference. Cubs and Sox get ready to face each other in their first spring training game and a lot more. But first, as the Bears Stadium saga turns, as I call it, here, that's just something I made up. But the whole thing with the Bears and the stadium stuff. Okay, first it was Arlington Heights. They got the land there. Okay, fine. Then Northwest Indiana, came in and said, hey, you know what? You want to come in? Hey, we'll bring you one too. And apparently there's some little further north, a little further northwest. It's Hammond, where if you're in the South Side, hey, that's easy for you to get to. And apparently, there's all this hubbub, with folks all over social media saying that, oh, it's a done deal, this and that, or I blame, the governor, Governor Pritzker and Mayor Johnson, blah, blah, blah. They effed up or whatever. And then, Governor Braun from Indiana. Oh, no. Okay. A couple of things here. Nothing's official yet. Yes, the Indiana legislation voted to, unanimously to help, give the Bears the land. They don't know where they're even going to build the stadium. So that hasn't been official yet. They're still got to get permits. They still got to get, this and that. Nothing's, crossed. No I's have been dotted. So for people that are already freaking out, say, oh, well, how dare they? And, look, nothing's official yet. But I love the fact that folks are showing themselves with all this stuff, Sid. It's kind of hilarious to me that all this, people are, kind of showing themselves all this stuff about that they don't know much about. People from outside the state, chiming in too. It's just like, it's crazy. So, Sid, what do you think about all this weird stuff? I'll let you have the floor first, my friend.
The Chicago Bears, Kevin Warren and George McCaskey are doing what us regular folks are doing every day when it comes to jobs and when it comes to dating. You like to explore every avenue, every opportunity possible, exploring your options. That's what the Bears are doing here. And when I first heard the news, LaKeena, from a couple of sources here on YouTube, it made my ears perk up a little bit. But once I started reading all the stuff and hearing from friends of the show like Marshall Harris and Mark Grody, who had their boots on the ground to the story, like you said, it's not a done deal that they're going to Indiana. I know that there are some people and some fans that are getting annoyed by this. I am too. But here's the thing. The Bears are exploring their options. And as we said on this show for the last 3 years since the Bears purchased their land in Arlington Heights, in my opinion, they're still going to end up there at the end of the day because, like you said, they own that land. And number two, we know how the business, how you get business done in Illinois. It's a snail's pace. So the Bears are going through that right now. As we said in the beginning, a couple years ago when Kevin Warren took this job, he's going to have to learn very quickly how the state operates. He's going to have to learn very quickly, which he has. It took him a little bit of time. He had to learn how the city of Chicago operates. Now, since the Bears won't be building a new stadium in the Chicagoland area, in the city limits, they're going to take their stuff to Arlington Heights. What they're doing is they're just getting a last night check with the state of Indiana to see if they could get something from them. Now, I don't know about you, LaKeena, but I heard the interview yesterday on 104.3 The Score with Governor Mike Braun. He was on the afternoon show with Matt Speaker and Lawrence Holmes, and he sounded like a typical politician, but he knows as well as you and I do they're being used for clout. And listening to that interview, do you really think that the Bears are going to go to a place where they haven't scoured the land yet on where to put the stadium? That's bad common sense business. You're not going to go to a place to put a stadium where you haven't scoured the land yet. That doesn't make any sense. Use your common sense, folks.
You listen to Second City Sports on Sports Chicago. LaKeena, McGee, Sidney Brown with you as we're talking about the latest chapter in the Bears Stadium saga. And it's just kind of crazy here for people to say, well, how could Illinois politicians let them do this and blah, blah, blah. I think people need to remember, and I think Kevin Warren's learned about this, that like you said, Illinois, it's not like in Minnesota where he put the state, he was able to get the Vikings new stadium in there. Things happen in a more, like not as rapid fire pace, but more of a snail's pace. And it's one of those things where people say, well, they want infrastructure and this and that. It's $2 billion. The Bears ownership, they don't have any liquid assets. They don't have the cash on hand. So of course they gotta, get it from, even though they got some minority owners that said that they will put in the cash, they don't want to have to do that. And also the fact that, look, if you put it, I said this morning, if you put it to a vote, if you put it in there for November, with the elections coming up, do you really think people in Illinois are going to vote for, hey, we'll help you pay for the new stadium? They're not going to do that. Hey, look, Missouri told the Chiefs to go pound sand. You really think that the Bears, that the Illinois voters are going to say the same thing? Tell them to pound sand. The Bears ownership, like, no. So yeah, of course he has to go do due diligence. Yeah, look, and I heard Governor Braun from Indiana's comments. I think the mayor of Hammond, he said the same thing. Basically he said that, hey, look, he didn't say it without saying it, that that they're being used as kind of a ploy to get their Mayor Dermott Jr. Thomas Dermott, who's the mayor of Hammond. He knows that I think all of Indiana knows that all Indiana politicians there know that they're being used as prawns, or they're being used as this and that. So this is just another one of silly thing where people are freaking out. Oh, I'm not going to go to Indiana to watch the Bears, or I'm going to be a Detroit fan, or I'm going to be a Washington fan. Y'all just going to look stupid in the end. So nothing's official yet. There are no boots on the ground zeroing in. People they were zeroing in. We've been hearing it for like the last 3 or 4 years. So I think folks need to just chill and just let the process play out. My God.
LaKeena coming out on fire. That's why you love watching and listening to us. That's what we do here on this show. She does herself off. I don't know if you heard Governor Pritzker of Illinois, his J.B. Pritzker, his comments yesterday. Of course, the Bears were scheduled to have a meeting with him and his team yesterday morning. That's how the story came out. The meeting was postponed, not canceled, after having discussions with the Bears over the last 3 or 4 weeks. And basically, Governor Pritzker is playing the blame game. Like, yeah, I want to get this deal done, but it's on the Bears. They screwed up, blah, blah, blah. And then the Bears are coming back and saying, well, we're trying to get what we want from the state. They're just not working with us, blah, blah, blah. And Kevin Warren hasn't been there for the last few meetings because I believe one of his family members are participating in the Olympics. And that's why he hasn't been there. But, it's all about, unfortunately, it all comes down to politics. But this is about greed. This is about PR, and this is about ego. And yes, things have to get ugly sometimes like this to get things done. Should it be like this? No. But unfortunately, the Bears, from what I've heard, that they take 1 inch and they try to stretch it to a mile. They think they know everything. They haven't. That's why this thing has been stalling over the last few years. There were people in the state in the governor's office in the state of Illinois, where we're trying to help the Bears out, guide the situation, but the Bears were not willing to listen. It's happening now. So if you're a Bears fan, yes, I get the frustration. I'm frustrated just like with you, but people think that it's just like a fast food drive-through. You go and get your order, but wait about 5-10 minutes to get, and then come out with your order. Things doesn't work like that in the world of politics. It just doesn't.
Yeah, and I think that's what folks are. I think folks are starting to realize that, and I think it's unfortunate people don't think that that's the case. Where look, nothing is this concrete, nothing is official, nothing is this and that. So I know that I'm with Ruthie Politsky, of course, who does great work at CHSN, covering the Bears. She was sitting in for with one of our friends to the show, David Hall from on Mullion Holler this morning, and she said, blindsided. I mean, yeah, to an extent they probably were blindsided. I think they are trying to, the Bears ownership is trying to kind of like you said, trying to, get their options open and such. But also, too, I think the way they're doing it, it kind of just, in the media, trying to play the media at each other. I think this is what happens, unfortunately, when these situations go. It's gotten kind of ugly, unfortunately. But, hopefully, cooler heads will prevail. And I agree. I think they are going to end up back here in Illinois. They're probably very likely in Arlington Heights. And it's just like, I think folks should just, all this ranting and raving that folks did all day yesterday, they're going to look stupid for doing that. So
ponder this question for all of you that are listening and watching out there before we break for the bottom of the hour. The Bears will get full control of all that revenue with that new stadium and potential new stadium in Arlington Heights. Do you think they're going to get that same deal in another state? Let me repeat that one more time. The Bears will get full control of all that revenue, not just during the games, but for all the other events like the Final Fours and the concerts and things along that line throughout the year. Do you think they're going to get close to that same deal playing in another state? Just something to think about.
And I'm sure this is just another like I said, this is another chapter in the Bears Stadium saga. And I'm sure there's going to be more developments within the next few weeks. And such, but on the a whole different note before we go to break on the Bears actual Bears news, the Bears released veteran linebacker Aman Gabangarega, who played I think about like 10 games for the Bears this year. That saves them about $2 million in cap space, $375 million in dead money to try to get under the cap. So that part of that, that was actually the one thing that kind of came out yesterday. And the Bears also hired a new assistant GM. Of course, they promoted from within, not a bad. We already figured that Jeff King, who had been the vice president, to Ian Cunningham, of course, who's now with Atlanta, and also, of course, Ryan Poles. So now he's the new assistant GM. Played attendant for the Panthers and the Cardinals for about 10 years. He joined the Bears. He's been with the Bears since 2015 as a scouting intern. So a couple of non-Bears related notes to cap off as we go to break.
Speaking of break, vacation's over for Major League Baseball players as they get back to work in this opening day of spring training, including both our Chicago teams, the Cubs and the Sox. And the Bulls take-a-thon is back on. Yay! The Bulls dropped a big game to the Toronto Raptors, losing by 9 points last night. That and the NBA and a whole lot more coming up next. I'm Sid. That's LaKeena. You're listening to Sports Zone Chicago.
Hey, it's your boy, the Superback, Sean Sierra, and be sure to follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms, on Facebook, Instagram, and our Roku channel. You can find us at Sports Zone Chicago, and on Twitter, we are at Sports Zone Chi. Also, be sure to download our mobile app so you can take Sports Zone Chicago with you on the go.
Got it done here. Ouch! And we're gonna make sure you lit this time. Ouch! You're not gonna get me this time.
Ow, Manny!
Whoops! Let's try an easy one.
Every day we take steps to keep the people we love safe, but some health risks are easy to miss. Ticks hiding in the yard can spread germs, like the ones that cause Lyme disease. Mice searching for food can spread bacteria that makes us sick. Mosquitoes lay eggs in standing water and can spread West Nile virus and more. Cockroaches are drawn to water in the home, leaving behind allergens that can trigger asthma attacks. Common pests can threaten our health. Learn how to protect your family at pestworld.org.
Hey, this is Corey McGee, and I listen to Sean and Maya on the morning show.
Welcome back to the Friday Funk edition of Second City Sports. You're locked and loaded, and we're live in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid the Kid is me. LaKeena McGee is she. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You follow LaKeena McGee on the Twitter, X, and again at IG.
We're going to dive into a baseball spring training discussion, and we'll discuss the Bulls tankathon continuing in the rest of the NBA for this half hour. So if you have any questions or comments regarding those subjects, you can definitely hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. LaKeena will get the opening screen for you as we dive into a little Cubs and Sox baseball spring training style.
Yes, they'll be battling it out in about an hour and a half from now as they get their first. Both teams are getting their first trick at spring training. You got the Yankees and the Orioles going on right now. There's no score, and I think the book that we talked about with the Coda odds and such, and all the excitement for both teams. For the Cubs, you got to think that they're definitely the favorites in the National League Central. And of course, also the White Sox. There are some people that say that I heard Will Venable, talk to a friend of the show, Josh Prime, because he was out there in Arizona for a little bit. He's back here now, but yeah, he said that he doesn't want to say playoffs, but he just want to say that look, it's up to the players how much they want to improve. And look, Murakami, he's hitting the ball like crazy. And also, it's gonna be interesting to see with the pitching too, especially since they've improved in both the starting and the bullpen. If the White Sox can win 70-75, I think that would be. I don't think they're gonna finish. We'll talk about it with our girl Christine Mack in a couple of weeks when we do our predictions for the baseball season. But I don't think I can say this. I don't think the White Sox are gonna finish in last. I don't think that's gonna happen. But I do think though you just need improvements. See if we can. If you get Benintendi, if he can do well, maybe you can finally get rid of that contract that you got and the White Sox got, and hopefully make some inroads here as they did last season.
Yeah, the couple of things I'm looking for in spring training is one, the fundamentals in the defense. Yes, the defense slightly improved last year, especially after the second half of the season. But during the first half of the year, they'll still booting the ball around a little bit. They'll still running the bases poorly a little bit. So, but they did get better once the second half of the season kicked off last year. So I'm looking for them to improve on those two elements of their team. And number two, the starting pitching. Who's going to be your opening day starter? I know theoretically, using air quotes here, Shane Smith will probably be your opening day starter when they face the Milwaukee Brewers on Thursday, March 26th at 1:10 p.m. Central Standard Time. But I want to see how the starting pitching prevails throughout this spring training. And number three, you mentioned about Will Venable, LaKeena. Last year, he was forced to work with the coaching staff that was held over from the previous Pedro Grifol regime. Now that Will Venable has picked his own coaching staff, I think we're going to start to see not the final polish, but some of how he really manages his team. Because on paper, he has a better team than he did last year, and with some of his own coaches in the mix now on his staff, we'll see how he really manages the team overall, not just with the starters in the bullpen. I think the bullpen is really going to be interesting as well, but how he's going to manage that the lineup that no longer has Luis Robert Jr. via trade. And with Murakami, he's going to step away within the next week or so to go and join the World Baseball Classic along with Kyle T, who's going to play for Team Italy. But you're going to see how Will Venable really manages this team overall and how he makes out their lineup card.
Yes, because you got Costa Montgomery, Miguel Vargas. I think seeing those young guys step up, and hopefully it's Chase Mydrop. Hopefully those guys can build on what they did last year, especially Montgomery. And this is sort of a thing where I think for the White Sox that's the pitching though is really going to be the thing here. We know about Jordan Hicks. They signed Sir Anthony Dominguez, so that should help them when it comes to the back end of that bullpen. And look, I think that the White Sox, they definitely, like you said, they definitely made inroads last year. If they can build on that, and now that Venable actually has a group of players, a core group of players where they can perhaps maybe make those moves and perhaps maybe get to at least with 70-75. I think that's really going to be, if you're the White Sox, if you're a White Sox fan, that should be your ceiling though to get to for this season as you keep building and building, to perhaps maybe get back into contention within the next couple of years.
As we said throughout this offseason, we'll say it again. This is all about building that next step towards your identity of this team. There are no major expectations this year, but the expectation is for those young guys to experience experienced the playing time, especially during the second half of the year last year, where you finished 9 games under 500. It's time for you to take the next step. It's about getting to that next step to becoming contenders. That's what this season is all about. And I said this throughout the all season. I'm still going to say it here. I'm going to still say it leading up to opening day. Between 69 and 75 wins is where I expect this White Sox team to finish if everything goes right.
Let me just see what happens with the White Sox. On the flip side for the Cubs, everything, everybody seems loose, and you can kind of tell that Corey Counsell has a little bit, a little kind of relief. Now you've got Alex Bergman. I know he's going to be leaving for the World Baseball Classic. So I know Shota is as well, but I think getting that getting that Bergman to kind of get the extra bump in that lineup, and also to Dansby Swanson. I know he had he was up and down last year. Hopefully he actually gained a little bit of muscle, but he just became a dad over the offseason. So you got to think he's having a little extra spring in his step. Matt Shaw, people are going to be wondering what they're going to do with him. You go second, third base. Seiya, we'll see where he goes as well. All over the outfield, maybe even DHing. I think if you're the Cubs, especially with the relief pitching as well, I think that really is going to help in that sense until you get Justin Steele until he can come back. So I'm kind of like right there with the Cubs. Like, look, I think 90. I'll keep it at 90. I know there have been some predictions. We talked about the Bakota odds on Monday. I think they got like 92 or 93. I'll keep it at 90 just to see, because I don't know what Milwaukee's going to do. Milwaukee somehow, they always find a way. I did it. They just gave Pat Murphy a new extension, a little bit bump in his salary. So I know they traded away a lot of some of their guys, but I'm still keeping an eye on them. Cincy, who knows what's going on over there in Cincy. But Pittsburgh, Paul Skeens, who knows when he'll probably come in and say, hey, look, get me the heck out of here. St. Louis is St. Louis. I think they'll be right there, but I don't think they're going to be, they might contend for a wild card spot. But yeah, I think if you're the Cubs, I think you want to try to kind of like use this extra power and extra depth that you have to try to see. You still can get you a starting pitcher. To me, in my opinion, I think they need another starter. And let's see how this goes as we get into the season.
I was going to ask you, LaKeena, I'll still ask you along with our listeners and viewers out there at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. If you're watching this on the replay, chime in as well in the comments section. What is the important element that you're watching out for this Cubs team this spring training?
Like I said, I think I know Seiya is going to be gone, so I would think Nico Horner, we'll see how he looks. I know he was subject to trade rumors. I think if you can get him, perhaps maybe be settled in at second, I think that'll be a good thing as well. Alcantara is another guy that probably you could do both center and left. So I want to see how he looks. I think for me also Michael Busch. I know that he had his struggles. He had struggles like later in the season, but he's really been solid for the most part with the Cubs. So I think I want him to take that next step. Carson Kelly is another guy. Also Daniel Palencia. I think that's going to be, see how, kind of, be that, now he's that closer now. Craig Counsell officially made him the closer. So, let's see how he does. And look, I think this is going to be really interesting to see how all these guys sort of mesh together. And I know Bregman's going to be gone over to the World Baseball Classic. But I think if you can kind of, if everyone can kind of play their role and then everyone can stay healthy, they could probably win 90 to 92 games. I'm keeping it right there. I don't want to go to 95 because that might be asking too much. But if they get to 90 or 92 and win that Central, which they should, I think you're in a good spot if you're a Cubs fan.
My number one concern for this Cubs team is that right field situation. Like you said, Seiya Suzuki, everyday right fielder, is not the answer anymore. Matt Shaw, who was your third baseman last year, looks like he's going to be your utility guy. I want to see how he's going to be used this spring training. Is it Moises Ballesteros? Who knows? Or maybe a prospect, Dylan Carlson. I don't know, but I'm watching for that right field situation, how that shakes out. Number two, PCA, P. Crow Armstrong. What is going to be his approach to the plate this year? We saw him get out to that fast start last year. We were talking about him. We were the first ones to say that he was playing the MVP level he was. And then after the All-Star break, everybody started to figure him out offensively. and boom went the dynamite. I will say this about Pete Crow. He did come up with a couple big hits in the playoffs, but he did not lose his touch with the glove at center field. He's one of the best center fielders, young center fielders in the game. And with his offensive struggles after the All-Star break, he's kept his focus of playing defense in center field. So that's what you like about Pete Crow. So hopefully he can make some adjustments at the plate this year. And number 3, I'm with you, that bullpen. Daniel Palencia, we talked about it on our show on Monday. He had a 6.36 ERA in the month of August before the injury. Now, Craig Counsell did not put him back in the closest role for the playoffs. He did very well coming up their bullpen in the 5th to 6th innings. So we'll see what happens with this. So those are the 3 things that I'm watching for the Cubs for this spring training.
Yeah, PCA is going to be interesting because, like you said, I think he was kind of right there for, I don't want to say MVP discussion, but he was definitely kind of like right there in the thick of it for perhaps maybe be in that second tier group of guys for NL MVP.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, as the season went on, teams started figuring him out. So, and like he did gain some muscle, so I think that definitely helps there. And he's been hanging out with Caleb Boyle, so they're kind of have a new bromance going. So maybe some of that some of that juju is kind of rubbed off on PCA. We'll see what happens.
As LaKeena said, if you're watching this live in 11 color right here on Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook and YouTube channels, less than 90 minutes from now, the Cubs and Sox will open up their spring training schedule later today for 2026, facing off against each other. You're listening to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. Still LaKeena here with you. We still have plenty of time left. Let's close out this half hour by discussing the Bulls take-a-thon, yay, and the rest of what happened in the National Basketball Association from last night. We'll start out with the Bulls first. The Bulls start out that second half of their schedule. Coming out of the All-Star break, they lose to the Toronto Raptors by the score of 110-101. LaKeena, there were some exciting moments last night, but the Toronto Raptors woke up and said, we're not losing this to this sorry-ass so-so team. Brandon Ingram came up big for the Raptors.
Yeah, 31 points was a season high for him. And that game, all 5 stars were double figures for Toronto. Scotty Barnes, and Emmanuel quickly had 14 points apiece. So that definitely led the way there for the Raptors. As far as the Bulls, Anthony Simons had 20 points. Trey Jones and Colin Sexton had 23 points combined off the bench for them. 60 points for Hudson Okoro. And look, I think the Bulls, did what they're supposed to. You had your moments. You had like I think there were a couple of exciting dunks. Montes had his struggles. Only 4 points, 0 for 7 from the 3-point range. But again, this is sort of like as we said back in the day. You want the Bulls to be competitive, but also you'll lose in the end. So that's what they did last night. And tomorrow they're going to be playing the Pistons squad. They got a big win last night. We'll talk about that in a minute. But the Bulls, I think for me, is just like, okay, let's just drag them along these last 16 games just so that they can get to the end of the season and not have to worry about having to play another freaking play-in.
Speaking of another star who's making his way back from injury, Josh Giddey last night, he didn't have a good performance. 21 minutes, 5 points overall. 1 for 7 shooting, 0 for 2 for 3-point range. I know he's a playmaker for this team. I think it's safe to say that he's a part of the Bulls' future. At least the front office showed you that he's a part of this Bulls' plans with his contract extension over the summer. As our another friend of the show, Big Dave Watson for CHGO Bulls, Lee Williams, aka Patrick Williams, so those you scoring at home. Check this out, LaKeena. In 27 minutes of action, 6 points, 7 rebounds, 0 for 4 from downtown. And this is what you get. Even with the new players, LaKeena, this is what you get from Lee Williams.
Yeah, it's just, yeah. That's why they call him Lee. So, that's why they call him Lee. So, so unfortunately, I think they gave you a reason why. But yeah, again, if you're a Bulls fan, this is what you want. This is what, everyone to kind of, be some, to stand out, but others, I don't look, the guys they're most of those guys probably won't even be in the Bulls uniform next year. So they're basically just playing for themselves at this point. They're going to be facing the Pistons team where they got a big win yesterday. Let's talk about that right now. Speaking of the Pistons, they've been down 2 starters within the last couple of weeks. They did get a big win in New York City in the Madison Square Garden against the Knicks. 126-111, 42 points for Cade Cunningham, which has a career high. He was 5 for 11 from three. Paul Reed had 18 points. He'll kicking in for that as well for the Pistons. As far as the Knicks, 33 points for Jalen Brunson, 21 for Cat, 15 points for Landry Shaman off the bench. But it was really all Pistons thanks to Mr. Cunningham.
Yeah, for the Pistons, you got Jalen Durant and Isaiah Stewart suspended from that melee against the Charlotte Hornets a couple weeks ago. But you mentioned you have other guys that stepped up. I know that Kevin Huerter, who was recently acquired from the Chicago Bulls, he didn't play last night. But there's other guys you mentioned like Stuart Thompson in the starting line of seven, Tobias Harris chipping in the starters role as well. And let's not forget about Karis LeVert, who had 8 points off the bench, including 2 for 3 from downtown last night. Good signs of a good team where your other important pieces go down. Who steps up? And like you said, your guy Kate Cunningham is leading the way, but who's going to help him out? And I think it was I believe there was an all-around great performance by the Detroit Pistons last night. On the flip side, you mentioned about the New York Knicks. Karl-Anthony Towns, I know some New York fans want him gone. We'll see about that. Jalen Brunson did his thing as usual with 33 points, but OG Anunoby, only 8 points. That's not going to get it done. He was playing very well leading up to the All-Star break. And then off your bench, outside Landry Shamet, you really did get anything else scoring wise from your bench last night. So for the Knicks, you got to have a couple other guys step up outside of Karl-Anthony Towns and Jalen Brunson.
Yeah, so it's gonna be just to see what New York does after. Hopefully, it can bounce back after this loss. Now, the Clippers got a big win against the Nuggets coming back from the All-Star break, 115-114. Benjamin Mathurin had 38 points off the bench in his first home game. Of course, he came in via trade. That's the most points by reserve in his first home game with the team in NBA history. And he was kind of the guy that kind of led the charge there because they were down at halftime, but he was the one that kind of started the comeback for the Clippers. And it's sort of interesting. He was thanks to 12 for 22 from the field. And big win for the Clippers. Kawhi had 23 on the flip side for Denver. I know, Jokic had his struggles. He only had 22 points, but was 0 for 6 from 3-point range. I know Jamal Murray didn't play yesterday, but a big win for the Clippers, though.
Yeah, for the Clippers, Zubac has gone to the Indiana Pacers via trade. Now James Harden is gone via trade to Cleveland. Who's going to be that second guy to step up to help out Kawhi and Leonard? Like you said, at least as of last night, you found out your answer. On the flip side for Denver, you mentioned about Jamal Murray not playing last night. I know that Cam Johnson is back. He was injured for the last couple of weeks. I know that Aaron Gordon's still battling injuries here and there. I know Bruce Brown is back. But for Denver, you got to get your important guys healthy and start gathering some confidence and getting some continuity going into the playoffs. Because I still believe, and I said this during our preview show back in October, if Denver is healthy by the time the playoffs start, they're still going to be one of those teams that you don't want to play in the playoffs. Right now, they're going through it right now. Bad loss last night, but I'm not too much worried about them yet. But if they come out of the break losing like 5 out of 7 games or having a tough stretch, then it becomes a problem because you really can't afford to lose your ground in the Western Conference, especially when it comes to home court advantage in the playoffs.
Orlando kicked off their East Coast trip coming off the break. They beat the Kings 131-94. Banchero had 30 points. The Celtics with a nice win out in the Bay Area against Golden State, 121-110. Jaylen Brown had 23 points, but Vooch had a nice 9 points off the bench, and he helped. Even though the Warriors they actually made a comeback, they actually outscored the Celtics 37-19 in the fourth quarter, but it wasn't enough. And it was actually thanks to Vooch that Celtics were able to hold them off. Of course, again, no Steph Curry. They had a lot of controversy about the bench. Porzingis had 12 points his first game with the Warriors. Will Richard had 17 off the bench as well. But yeah, the Celtics did just enough, and I was able to hang on.
Yeah, the Celtics, I thought they would be competitive this year and perhaps get into the playoffs. I didn't think they would be this good, but as we talked about before, Jaylen Brown, in my opinion, he's a top 5 candidate for MVP. You mentioned about Vooch. He's definitely going to help them out, especially in the paint. And Jason Tatum is back practicing, so I think it's a matter of time when he makes his return. Whenever he makes his return, of course, the Celtics are going to ease him into the lineup. But imagine this lineup come playoff time, LaKeena, when everything sets out right and the Celtics stay healthy. Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and Vooch. How you going to beat that in a 7-game series if they all clicking?
And the good news is Vooch doesn't have to.
I'm not saying it's a guarantee for Boston coming out of the East, but if they could,
no,
right? Like you said, everything doesn't have to be on. Everything doesn't have to be on Jaylen Brown's shoulders. Everything definitely is not going to be on Jason Tatum's shoulders. So all three of them can share the load and they can operate offensively. And let's not forget about Mike Pritchard either. I know he stepped in. He's in the starter's role this year because of Tatum's injury, but he's been doing a fine job as well. So we have him hopefully coming off the bench. That's what Joe Mazzulla, their head coach, does once Jason Tatum gets back. This Celtics team will be difficult to beat. Like I said, is a guarantee for them to make it back to the finals this year? No, but if everything goes according to plan, come playoff time, they're going to be tough to beat.
Yep. And like I said, Vooch doesn't have to be the facilitator anymore. They've got guys that can do that, so he doesn't have to. It always has to be on him to be kind of like that floor general. So that's how he was here with the Bulls the last few years. So yeah, he's in a place where they've got like 4 or 5 guys that can do that. So he can just be like that, that perimeter guy or that the guy in the paint. So he doesn't have to worry about doing that anymore. So I know he's glad about that.
Yes. Just the other scores to pass along from last night as the NBA got back into action. Washington beat Indiana by 7, 112-105. The Atlanta Hawks continue to roll. I guess, like we said, they're better without Trae Young, who they traded to Washington at the beginning of this month. They beat Philadelphia 117-107. Philadelphia has to get it going because if they don't make some noise in the playoffs this year, it could be Doom City for that franchise. Speaking of Cleveland, they destroyed the Brooklyn Nets 112-84, and the Rockets, they get it done with a tough 4-point win on the road against the Charlotte Hornets.
35 points for KD, and that was actually a pretty irritating game last night. Charlotte gave them a run, but yeah, they were able to pull away late. Now, your Friday games for the NBA, the first weekend back from the All-Star break: Cleveland and Charlotte, Indiana and Washington, Utah and Memphis, Miami and Atlanta. Your first game of the ESPN Friday doubleheader: Dallas and Minnesota, Milwaukee and New Orleans, Brooklyn, OKC, and the Battle of LA. This time the Lakers are hosting the Clippers, and that's the second game at that doubleheader Friday night. And maybe one here, maybe perhaps you got Denver back at it on the road as they face Portland. We'll see if they can bounce back for that 12 loss against the Clippers last night.
Your schedule for Saturday tomorrow looks like this. Orlando will continue their West Coast road trip. They'll go to Phoenix to face the Suns. That's at 4 p.m. on NBA TV. Philadelphia will visit New Orleans. Miami will host Memphis. The Pistons and the Bulls, as LaKeena mentioned earlier, the Bulls will host the Pistons at the UC tomorrow night. Sacramento will travel to San Antonio. And your ABC Saturday night game of the week will feature the Kevin Durant visiting Madison Square Garden. It says Rockets will tangle with the New York Knicks. That's at 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, only on ABC.
We'll see what the mood the Knicks are going to be in after that tough loss to Detroit last night. Sunday, you got Cleveland and OKC. Should be the intriguing matchup. That's at noon. That's going to be the first game of the ABC Sunday doubleheader. Then you got Brooklyn and Atlanta, Toronto and Milwaukee. The second game of the ABC doubleheader for Sunday afternoon. You got Denver and Golden State. Indiana hosts Dallas. Charlotte meets Washington. Your Sunday NBC game of the week should be a good one. You got Boston and the Lakers. That's also be streaming on Peacock as well. Philadelphia and Minnesota. The Knicks and the Bulls. We're a Sunday night matinee at the UC.
The take-a-thon continues.
Yep. Portland and Phoenix. And your NBA TV game of the night, you got the Clippers hosting Orlando. And that is your schedule for this weekend in the NBA.
Stay tuned for more sports and more fun as Friday Fun edition of Second City Sports continues with our girl, the return of Miss Christine, the Queen Manika. You're listening to Sports Zone Chicago.
Hey, it's your boy, the Superback, Sean Sierra, and be sure to follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms on Facebook, Instagram, and our Roku channel. You can find us at Sports Zone Chicago, and on Twitter, we are at Sports Zone Shy. Also, be sure to download our mobile app so you can take Sports Zone Chicago with you on the go.
How do you take care of your mind health?
For my mental health, I meditate in the mornings.
I have my dogs. They're the best.
I just find ways that help me just relax.
Finding things that make me happy, like being close to my family.
I meditate a lot and read books.
I have hobbies outside of the game. I'm able to switch off. I'm able to turn my brain off from the game of basketball.
Your mind health matters.
Your mind health matters.
It's a romance sport. What? It's a romance sport like that.
Your Marine Corps' way of life is to defend the American way of life. Every day, no matter where we serve, we take a stand for our nation, for each other, for us all. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Every body in a work zone is someone's somebody.
This is my mom. She works for KDOT.
This is my dad.
This is my mom.
This is my daddy.
This is my sister.
This is my daddy.
This is my son, Scott. He was killed while working in a highway work zone. When you drive through a work zone, drive like a life depends on it. Because it does.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of Second City Sports on the hashtag Friday Fun. You're locked and loaded and we're live in living color right here on Sports So Chicago. LaKeena McGee is she. Sidney Brown here. You know it's me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You follow LaKeena McGee on the Twitter, X at LaKeena IG.
We're going to have our homegirl, Miss Christine, the Queen Manika, coming up in just a couple of minutes. In the meantime, in between time, you definitely hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. LaKeena will get the up of the screen for you.
As we wait for Miss Christine, I know she has had a very busy day, so hopefully she'll join us in a little bit here. But speaking of, look, we were talking earlier about some of the promotional stuff for both teams, and I got the Cubs schedule right here, and a couple months here from April. You got, of course, they got Ben Zobrist bobblehead day on April 11th as they face the Pirates, the first 10,000 arriving fans. This is a promotion presented by Joel Osco. I think that's really cool. Of course, they're celebrating 10 years of the Cubs win the World Series. He was one of the heroes. He's one of the heroes, and he'll be eligible for the Hall of Fame starting next year. So that's really cool. there as well. Of course, they also have Ron Santo bobblehead day that next week against the Mets on the 18th. Kerry Wood on May 2nd against the D-backs bobblehead. So I'm sure he'll be there for that too. That's actually really, really cool there. And of course, Ryan Simber, we talked about this earlier. I'm a little surprised they hadn't already done this before he passed away, but they actually are going to have a bobblehead for him on May 24th against Houston. So that's
going to sell out big time.
Oh yeah, within like the next as soon as the doors are open, you sure people are going to be it's supposed going to be out of those. So yeah, that's going to go like crazy. Of course, you got Jackie Robinson Day, of course, in March. April 17th, I should say, against the Mets as well. A few others here of Puerto Rican Heritage Day, June 4th against Sacramento, the A's. I don't know what they're calling themselves now.
I'm calling them Oakland.
Sac Oakland, whatever they're calling. Of course, Japanese Heritage Day on June 17th. Pride against the Rockies. Also, Pride celebration a couple days before, like on the 15th. Juneteenth, against the Blue Jays, celebration for that. Father's Day on June 21st against the Blue Jays. So, so very interesting promotions for the Cubs this year. Of course, all the anniversary stuff for the 2016 World Series. So they're gonna have pins and T-shirts, and I think that's also where they're gonna have like a signed baseball with all the members of the 2016 squad. So yeah, it should be a really great day, great season promotions for the Cubs.
Yeah, let's not forget the Chicago Cubs are also celebrating their 150th anniversary season, as well as being members of Major League Baseball, just like the White Sox did last year, celebrating 125. And one other note, LaKeena, before we bring on our girl, Miss Christine, the Queen Manika, each Friday, I think starting in June for the Cubs, they're going to give away a throwback jersey celebrating their 150th anniversary season as well. A couple of those jerseys, the throwback ones in the early 1900s, they really look nice. Of course, they're going to have one, I believe it's in August or July of the 84 Cubs. Those were really nice. And then they're going to have the one, remember they had the Cubs in blue in the early 90s. I didn't like them at the time, but those kind of look interesting now.
I love those A's
compared to the Ray Grove they wear now.
Yeah, I love those. They're gonna have the A's record jersey against the Cardinals on August 14th, and of course, like you said, all the 150th anniversary celebrations. They have decal pins and such. I like those those jerseys you talked about. Yeah, I wasn't a fan of those either, but I kind of grown to like them over the years. Back in the 90s ones, they're gonna have those against the Reds right at the end of August. And I wasn't too crazy about them, but they're all nice to have. So I like those jerseys, but I'm glad they're giving folks a chance, even for younger folks that weren't born during that time. They're getting a chance to kind of get those jerseys to see the history of the Cubs jersey. The whole 150th celebration.
Yeah, if you're watching this live, this broadcast live, tickets just went on sale more than 3 hours ago. So the Cubs tickets are officially on sale. So you can go ahead and purchase your tickets through the Cubs website. Of course, and when we bring Christine on in a couple of minutes, we'll get her thoughts about the White Sox promotional schedule, because they have a few bobbleheads. Your show is going to try to grab as well, and they have some theme nights as well. So we'll get to that coming up with our girl, Miss Christine, the Queen Manika, as far as the White Sox are concerned.
All right, you know what? Let's just bring it on right now. We missed her last week, but I know she's back. She's gonna have thoughts about a lot of stuff coming up. So from KXRB in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, she's our girl, your girl, our weekend girl, Miss Christine, the Queen Manika. Hey, Christine.
Hello, everybody. Yay. We are rolling today.
How are you?
Busy Friday. Busy Friday.
No, we got you. No, we got you. So I know you didn't get a chance to talk about it last week, but what were your thoughts on Super Bowl 60 between the Seahawks and the Patriots?
I think game-wise, it kind of went the way that I thought it was going to be, just a defensive battle throughout. It only took one person to make a big play, and that was for Seattle to make Dre May not only turn the ball over, but to put pressure on him and to, get him rattled a little bit with those sacks as well. I'm happy that the Chicago area was well represented when it came to uh, Robert Spillane and Julian Love. I thought both of those players had a great showing. I thought it was really cool during Radio Row that there was someone that asked them about what it was like participating in the Chicago Catholic League, and it's great if you haven't watched it. Just saying how the brotherhood meant so much to them, the friendships that are long lasting. I can speak to that being a Catholic Chicago Conference gal myself. So yeah, it was just very cool to see that part of it.
Another event that took place during the Super Bowl was the halftime show featuring Bad Bunny. If you could describe that halftime show in one word, what is it and why?
I was dancing. I mean, I guess I could say dancing. He did bring a lot of energy. I wish, because I know they did this after the fact, I wish that the NFL had subtitles underneath, just because it would have been a little bit helpful for me anyway. I took 8 years of Spanish and I have nothing to show for it, so that's my fault there. But it's still, he put on a great show. It was very entertaining. A lot of surprise guests. You had Ricky Martin, which I loved. I also, Lady Gaga was fantastic too, doing her own creative rendition of Die with a Smile with Bruno Mars. So I thought that was pretty interesting. The surprising part for me during the halftime show was that wedding was real. For anyone that doesn't know that couple actually got married after inviting Bad Bunny to their own wedding. A lot of married couples do this where they send out different invitations to their favorite restaurant, brand, maybe to get a little gift out of it or something. And that's what they did with Bad Bunny. And he's like, you know what? Let's just marry you guys at the Super Bowl. And they went for it.
Yeah, they did. So, and it was very highly rated. Killer Lamar, of course, from last year is still the tops, but Bad Bunny was in the top, is still the top 5. So yeah. But still, I think it was a really, really great time had by all. Now, Christy, of course, the big story the last couple of days has been the Bears Stadium stuff. What are your thoughts on all this stadium craziness?
I'm sick of it. That's legit my thought about it. And you know what? I don't blame Illinois, like the lawmakers, people behind it. I don't blame Illinois. I blame the Bears, because they're the ones, if you didn't see a bunch of press conferences yesterday, they were the ones to cancel the meeting to let, whatever bill it was going to happen to go forward. And I don't know if it's really because they're trying to do tweaks on it or they're really serious about this Indiana thing. But I'm going to be honest, nobody wants to go to Indiana. These players are not excited about Chicago because of Indiana. You know what I mean? I went to school in Indiana, so I get it. I hope I don't get too much heat for saying that, but it's just not Chicago. So it's regardless of what anybody says, it's not Chicago. I personally think that they should just stay at Soldier Field. It's a historic franchise. It's a historic stadium. Don't touch it. Don't fix what isn't broken.
Yeah. Me and LaKeena gave our thoughts earlier. I'll just wrap up by saying this. We're not trying to be a political show, so we're not going to go that route. But, Kevin Warren, when he was hired to become Bears president a few years ago, I know that he wanted a new stadium around Soldier Field. That's not going to happen because of a whole bunch of different groups and other elements. We won't get into that here. But me and LaKeena have been saying this all along. For those of you that have been late to the party, the Bears, where they play now at Soldier Field, the Chicago Park District owns it. They control 100% of the economics that goes on, the events that goes on in the Soldier Field, including the Bears games. But when the Bears finally, in my opinion, go out to Arlington Heights officially, they own the land already. They're going to control all the revenue, not just from the Bears games, but from other events like concerts, business conventions, and Final Fours and Super Bowls. The Bears will control all their money, which is something they don't have right now. And as I posed the question to LaKeena and to our listeners and viewers last hour, do you think they're going to get that same economic control in a different state in Indiana?
If the Indiana is willing to get all these Wonderings going, they just might. I hate to say that, but they just might.
Well, like I said, we'll have to wait and see. There's still a lot of still a lot of parts to this, moving parts to this, and nothing's official yet. So for folks who are freaking out, I think they're just wasting their time and their energy. So it's just crazy how all this sort of like maps out and such. But it's just I'm over it too. I'm with you, Christine, on that front. But the NBA All-Star game, now they just posted the ratings for the All-Star game yesterday. More than 30 million people, according to NBA Communications, in the U.S. watched the All-Star game on NBC, Peacock, and Telemundo. That's the most in 24 years, and 3.5 times increase of last year, which of course that was back the last year on TNT. So more than 46 million at the peak, all of All-Star weekend. That's including the All-Star, the celebrity, the celebrity game, All-Star Saturday night and such. That's more than triple from last year. So, Christine, I'll start with you. Your thoughts on that? Did you watch any of it?
We did watch a little bit of it, especially during the main game, the main event, as they would call it. Shout out, by the way, to Keyshawn Johnson, who once was a Sioux Falls Skyforce guy, now making a name for himself with the Miami Heat, winning the slam dunk contest. I've gotten to know Keyshawn a little bit when he came on last year, and he's a great guy. He loves basketball. He's very passionate about what he does, and it shows. So good for him, and congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations to him. He was, as we said on our show this past Monday, LaKeena, he was the most consistent dunker out of the dunk contest, which I thought it was above average until Jace Richardson of Orlando hit his head on one of those attempts, and then of course Carter Bryant of the San Antonio Spurs. If he would have nailed his final dunk between the legs on that second attempt, he had the title in his hands, but it just didn't work out for him. I think the bigger question for me, LaKeena, I think we got into this a little bit on our show on Monday, but there were some empty seats for All-Star Saturday, and looking at some of those prices on StubHub, you wonder why it wasn't a packed house. You pricing out the regular fan who cannot afford to go to these events. I know it's been becoming corporate over the last, I don't know how many years. That's for all your sports, especially for these All-Star games. We experienced it here in Chicago in 2020, but looking at some of those prices for those events on Saturday, I know it was in the middle of the afternoon, early afternoon out there in LA, but looking at some of those prices for upper deck tickets, you knew why some fans couldn't show up, because you can't afford it.
Well, and also remember too, it was like 1 o'clock out there in out there in Los Angeles. So I think that might have been another reason why those seats were empty too. So I think there are a lot of variables. So, but again, if you're the NBA, you'll take those ratings, because especially since it was back on NBC for the first time in years. The time of it, because it was right before their Olympic coverage, so it was definitely that kind of play a factor too, I feel like.
Christine, your thoughts about ticket prices?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of said it already. It's Los Angeles, it's California. Of course, prices are going to be sky high out there, and with the celebrities that were at the event, you can kind of see why too.
You're listening to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid, LaKeena, and our girl Miss Christine, the Queen Manika from KXRB in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. She's joined us a little bit earlier today on the program. Before we get to the White Sox promotional schedule for this season, Christine, the Olympics, the USA women's hockey team, they defeated Canada yesterday 2-1 in overtime. I watched the whole thing. Shout out to Layla Edwards, the first Black woman to win a gold medal in women's hockey. Shout out to Hillary Knight, who ends her international career on the biggest stage, as she scored that game-tying goal in regulation. Your thoughts about the USA women's hockey team picking up the gold in the Olympics overall?
Yeah, what a game. We were watching it, and for Hillary Knight, I mean, she left the door kind of open in her post-game interview, saying that, well, it might not be the end after this. And you know what? If athletes nowadays are still playing their 40s, Lindsey Vonn almost did, go with it. And with the team, you can just tell how well those girls got along together, how they enjoyed playing with each other. Abby Murphy from Evergreen Park, Illinois, representing, did a phenomenal job during
Yes.
her entire time for the Olympics this year. She was itching to get a goal yesterday. She
Yeah.
tried so hard in that red
Yes, she
zone,
did.
and it just wasn't there. And I was kind of rooting for her, even though she's a Mother Macaulay grad. I'm
Yeah.
kind of rooting for her to, get that goal for Team USA. So just well represented girls on that team, and it was a big day for Team USA for medals, and I was pumped. I never felt more American in my life than in
Well,
that
yeah.
moment.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Well, we'll talk about that other great moment. But shout out to Layla Elorzo. I mean, it was like she was just there for window dressing or for whatever. She played a big part. She had the assist on the Hillary Knight goal. She made a big defensive stop against Canada where they had to break away that problem. They could have won the gold medal. Of course, Megan Keller ended up winning that one. So, she definitely, she played a big part of them winning that gold. And I think we get a shout out to her. Also, Kendall Coyne Schofield, I think this is her second gold medal.
Yeah.
Of course, seeing it with her son, I think that was a really great moment for her. Megan Keller, as well. Now, Hillary Knight, she's one of the all-time greats in women's hockey. This is their third gold medal, and Canada too. I mean, it's been just those two since they started. They started back in '98 with adding women's hockey to the Olympics. So those two have been the dominant force, and of course, the U.S. gets their revenge against them from the last Olympics back in Beijing. So we'll see what happens in 4 years in the French Alps. But yeah, they got to. I'm sure this is why we're still going to keep going.
Yes, and like I said, that was a classic matchup between those two great teams, and we were treated to one of the all-time great gold medal games yesterday. You're listening to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago City. LaKeena and Christine here with you. Christine, since we have a few minutes left with you, we talked about the Chicago Cubs promotional schedule earlier. I know the tickets just went on sale earlier today. For those of you that's watching this live, you watching on the replay, I'm sure you're buying those tickets right now. For those of you that are Cubs fans, but for the White Sox fans, their promotional schedule has been out for the last couple of weeks. We didn't get a chance to discuss this with you the last time you were on. We'll discuss at least some of the promotional dates here. Opening day, actually, the whole opener on Thursday, April 2nd, I should say, against Toronto at 3:10. Opening day T-shirt for the first 20,000 fans. So I don't know if you guys got a chance to see it, but it's a shirt. It's a shirt with the White Sox logo and whoever's going to be the head face of the team this year, and then all their names are going to be in the back of the T-shirt. So that's what fans will receive on the whole opener on Thursday, April 2nd. Saturday, April 4th against Toronto, Coastal Montgomery hooded jersey tank, wherever the hell that is. But if you want a Southpaw bobblehead, you'll have to buy a special ticket to get a Southpaw bobblehead. Of course, that's the White Sox mascot. The kids love them, the adults love them. But if you want a limited edition of the Southpaw bobblehead on Saturday, April 4th, you have to buy a special ticket for that.
Sounds pretty good so far.
And
all right. The next day, Sunday, April 5th. Yeah, Sunday, April 5th. Christine, I know you're going to like this one. 10,000 fans, 21 and over, presented by Benny's Beverage Depot. Bobby Jenks and AJ Przinsky bobblehead. Of course, remember the final out of the World Series. AJ Przinsky jumps into the arms of the. It's still weird to say that, of the late great Bobby Jenks. That's going to be a bobblehead. The first 10,000 people, 21 and up, will receive this one. I'm definitely going to be in line for this one.
No, that's awesome. What a way to honor him too. Good for the White Sox.
That was that snapshot. That snapshot is definitely a moment from that 05 World Series. So I'm glad they're immortalizing it with a bobblehead. I'm sure he's just going to be there for that one.
Yep. Yeah, speaking of another bobblehead, Monday, Memorial Day, May 25th against the Minnesota Twins. Chase Mydroff bobblehead. The first 10,000 fans will receive Chase Mydroff bobblehead. And as we go into June, this was a good one here. No, not June. First one in May. 6 days later, Saturday, May 30th, against the Detroit Tigers. The first 15,000 fans, 21 and up. Kyle Till and Edgar Carroll bobblehead. Their catching duo will have their own bobblehead.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely adorable.
And
with
then,
that one.
Yeah. And then Saturday, June 13th at 3:10 against the LA Dodgers, Coastal Montgomery bobblehead for the first 15,000 fans presented by Rate.
Love that.
Great.
Great. That's, I know it's kind of lame.
Yes. Saturday, July 11th at 3:10 against the Oakland Athletics, as we still call them on this show. The alumni postgame home run derby will take place following the game. Now, the participants has not been announced yet, but Christine, quickly, who would you have as a White Sox alumni to participate in this alumni postgame home run derby contest?
You got to get Jermaine Dye in there. You got to get the guy that, fired off a home run in the World Series. That's kind of a no-brainer in my opinion. I would hope Paul Konerko, although after seeing him with the Savannah Bananas, I don't know if he can still swing the bat like he used to, but he can sure try. I would think maybe give Frank Thomas a call and maybe Scotty Pods too. Get the big hitters there.
Yeah, I agree. Yep.
Yeah, just a couple other promotional items to pass along here. Christine, you're definitely gonna love this one. Friday night, August 21st at 6:40 against the New York Mets. Elvis Night presented by Beggar's Pizza.
Oh boy, it's back.
Oh gosh, here we go. Oh jeez. All right.
It's a classic. You got to give the people what they want.
Yep.
Oh gosh.
Yep. And then on Friday, September 4th, against the Minnesota Twins as part of Labor Day weekend, 3 promotions, including post-game fireworks and boy band night.
Oh boy. Oh gosh.
I don't know what that is, but okay.
Yeah, I guess they're gonna do like all the boy bands. I guess.
Oh, boy band like Backstreet Boys, NSYNC.
Yeah,
I got it. Boy band night. I got it. Add in the Jonas Brothers for me if you're listening, White Sox.
Maybe they might do that.
They might.
They might. At September 10th against the Pirates, they've got Barbie Game Day, which I don't know what that means.
It's Barbie Game Day.
Yeah, I don't know what that means, but yeah, that's a.
You're going to be hearing a lot of "Come on, Barbie, let's go, Barbie." That's for sure.
Oh gosh. Oh Jesus. Oh Jesus. Oh gosh.
I love it. Pink everywhere.
Pink and blue everywhere, kids.
And then on Saturday, September 19th at 6:10 against the Detroit Tigers, halfway through St. Patrick's Day, the first 15,000 fans, 21 and up, presented by Middle Light, will receive an Irish Quarter Zip hoodie. Those are not too bad. If you look at it on the White Sox website, you'll see what it looks like. And then, of course, on the last weekend of the regular season against the Colorado Rockies, Saturday, September 26th, City Connect Crew Neck for the first 15,000 fans. And, of course, the last day of the season, Sunday, September 27th against Colorado, Fan Appreciation Day.
Okay.
Yep. For the rest of the promotional schedule, you go to whitesox.com for more information. So, Christine, any other bobbleheads or promotional nights jump out at you?
Barbie got my attention. I like what they're doing with Bobby Jenks and AJ Brzezinski. I think is really great. Elvis Night again. Give the people what they want. Moody Blue and some blue suede shoes.
Oh gosh. Oh gosh. Oh my goodness. All right now. Oh my gosh. Okay, now on that note, what are your real quick before we let you know, you got to get ready for a Skyforce game. But what did you think about what are your expectations for the White Sox this year before we do our predictions in a few weeks?
Get above 500, please and thank you, and stay there.
Uh-oh. Are you gonna give a purple call to make that happen?
Right.
Oh gosh.
Pope Leo, right now, ASAP.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say get the Pope to do an intervention. So
right.
Yeah, right, exactly. So that should be interesting what happens with that. Now, Christy, I know you got a jet. So where can people find you on social media and all that other good stuff?
They can follow me at @Manika_KXRB on Twitter.
All right. All right, Christine. Hopefully we can talk to you next week and enjoy the rest of the Olympics. We know spring training is underway, and good luck at your game tonight. And we'll definitely do this again with you next week.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
No problem. Stay warm.
Yeah.
All right, of course, that was our girl Christina from KXRB. But don't worry, folks, we're coming right back. We're going to talk some college hoops as we got a couple of big matchups coming up tomorrow. Also, more Olympics as some more history is made. And also, we'll see if the men's hockey team can do what the women's hockey did by winning gold, but they got to go through Slovakia first in the semifinals coming up in a little bit here. That and so much more. LaKeena McGee, Sidney Brown, Second City Sports on Sports Chicago, our Sports Potpourri segment coming up right after this.
Poof.
Hey, it's your boy, the Superback, Sean Sierra, and be sure to follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms on Facebook, Instagram, and our Roku channel. You can find us at Sports Zone Chicago, and on Twitter, we are at Sports Zone Shy. Also, be sure to download our mobile app so you can take Sports Zone Chicago with you on the go.
Got it done here. Ouch! And we're gonna make sure you lit this time. Ouch! You're not gonna get me this time.
Ow, Manny!
Whoops! Let's try an easy one.
Every day, we take steps to keep the people we love safe, but some health risks are easy to miss. Ticks hiding in the yard can spread germs, like the ones that cause Lyme disease. Mice searching for food can spread bacteria that makes us sick. Mosquitoes lay eggs in standing water and can spread West Nile virus and more. Cockroaches are drawn to water in the home, leaving behind allergens that can trigger asthma attacks. Common pests can threaten our health. Learn how to protect your family at pestworld.org.
Hey, this is Corey McGee, and I listen to Sean and Maya on the morning show.
Welcome back to Second City Sports and our Sports Potpourri segment, our last break of the show for today and for the week. I'm Sid. That's LaKeena. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow LaKeena McGee on the Twitter, X, and the IG.
As I mentioned just a second ago, this is our last break of the show for today and for the week. So if you have any last-minute questions or comments of any of the topics that we discussed on this show thus far, you can definitely hit us up on Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube, or in the comment section if you're watching us on the replay on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. LaKeena will get the up on the screen for you.
Got a lot to do here in this segment, so let's get right to it. Start off by talking some college hoops. Before we get to some of the games, there's going to be a couple history matches coming up this weekend. But going back into the week in the hoops action, and it was very busy as we're going right into the conference play as we're going to the last weeks of the season before conference tournaments. Arizona, a nice bounce back win against BYU. You got to think BYU. You got to think that they're going to be struggling without Richie Saunders. So that's going to be a tough loss for them. But Arizona with a nice bounce back win. Creighton, they hit their threes, so they were able to upset UConn and Stores. Kansas, Darren Peterson, all the weirdest going on around him. He led the way with 23 points as they beat Oklahoma State. Illinois, no trouble with USC. Andre Soyaka, 22 points.
Yeah, stop right there.
All 5 starters were in double figures for Illinois. And so they took care of business against SC and did what they're supposed to do. So Kylan Ball had 12 points, the highest points total is a second game back from injury. So I think Illinois did what they're supposed to against a USC team that's one of their top scorers.
Yeah, and shout out to Caleb Williams, of course, a USC alum. He was sitting there courtside last night. And as you mentioned, watching Illinois whip that tail of the Trojans. As we mentioned about Illinois, they shot the ball well, 52% overall, 45% from 3. As you mentioned, when you have an opponent like that down, you keep them down. And they were very consistent with that all game long. They had a plus 11 in the rebounding department, 41-30. And, of course, they had 21 assists overall, and they forced 14 Trojan turnovers, leading to a total of points in the paint, 36, leading to 19 fast break points and 22 points off of those 14 turnovers. LaKeena, when you score points off of turnovers, you have your defense create your offense, at least the easy baskets, the easy shots, and that's what the Illini did. So, as we said, the Illini had a struggle bus here and there for the last couple of weeks. Tell Brandon what we'll answer his call after the show. The Illini had a bump for the last couple of weeks, especially losing a tough one at Michigan State a couple of weeks ago tomorrow. So they getting back on track. Now they face UCLA in another tough test out there on the road tomorrow night on Fox at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. So I like the way the Illinois got the bad habits out of their system, because they're going to need that same effort again against the Bruins on the road again tomorrow night.
And it gets tougher from there. Next week they face Michigan, but we'll talk about that game coming up here, because they got a big match. I'll talk about Michigan does tomorrow. So we'll get to that in a second here. Virginia beats Georgia Tech, going to continue with Wednesday's games. Mizzou freshened up their resume. They beat Vanderbilt under our buddy Josh Fryman from WGN Channel 9. I know he was very happy about that on Wednesday. Alabama beat Arkansas in double overtime. This is by Dalen Alkov, career 49 points, but it was Alabama's spread out shooting that was actually one of the better games of the year. But Bama got back on track and losing a couple in a row, but they got back on the track with this win against Arkansas in double overtime on Wednesday.
Just a couple of scores to pass along from Tuesday. North Carolina without Caleb Wilson, they got upset by NC State 82-58. Miami of Ohio still undefeated throughout the year. LaKeena, they take care of UMass by 9, 86-77. Michigan State, still believe that they're going to be one of those teams to be reckoned with Tom Izzo. When it comes to the Big Ten tournament and, of course, the NCAA tournament, they cruised past UCLA at home, 82-59. This is from Tuesday. Ohio State gets an upset win, a much-needed win to keep their possible NCAA tournament hopes alive. They upset Wisconsin, number 24 Wisconsin at home, 86-69. In Nebraska, they get back on track. They were supposed to get back on track, but they lose a tough one on the road at Iowa, 57-52.
Couldn't hit their threes. They were like 3 for 25 for 3-point range. That's not going to do it for you, unfortunately. But Michigan with a nice win against Purdue at Mackey Arena. This is actually the first time that Purdue they've beaten the top 10 team in 20 years. This is the first time where Purdue has lost as a top 10 team. Florida, they're starting to get it back. You'll get it back going. Remember, I think people forget they're the defending champions, and they've been kind of quietly, trolling along here. Alex Conda, who's one of the holdovers from that squad, had 20 points. But Boomer Janeu, if you guys have not heard about him, he's a monster on defense. He had 15 points, including 17 rebounds, including 10 defensive rebounds. He's probably one of the best defensive players, not only in the SEC, but also in the country. So you're going to be hearing his name a lot as we get into March Madness. So Florida's sticking up on kind of stickily, along here, but we'll see what happens here as the SEC is pretty much wide open now. this weekend's games, tonight should be a good one here on ESPN2 in St. Louis. You got the Billikens, number 18, as they host VCU. That should be a good one there on ESPN2. On the Big Fox Network, Indiana and Purdue. Indiana really needs this win. They want to polish off that turning resume, and Purdue hoping to bounce back from the loss against Michigan earlier this week, as we just talked about. And Bowling Green against Miami of Ohio. They're the last team left. They're the Fighting Ron Harpers and Wally Zerbiaks. They're the last team undefeated in the men's college hoops. That's going to be at 7:30 on CBS Sports Network. So if you guys haven't had a chance to see them yet, now you guys will be able to check them out on CBS Sports Network. It's nice.
All right, and your schedule for tomorrow looks like this. We mentioned about Illinois, Illinois and UCLA. That's tomorrow night at 7 p.m. on the Big Fox Network. But in the morning, number 12 Florida, as you talked about earlier, they'll travel to Ole Miss to take on the Running Rebels. That's at 11 a.m. on ESPN. On Fox at the same time, Creighton will take on number 17 St. John's. Rick Pitino has his team rolling right now at 21-5. At high noon on CBS, Cincinnati, they're struggling. They're 14-12. They'll take on Darren Peterson, assuming that he plays. They'll take on number 8 Kansas on the road for Cincinnati. That's at high noon on CBS. North Carolina, without Caleb Wilson, they'll take on Syracuse. That's also at the same time on ABC. Nebraska will host Penn State at 1 p.m. on the Big Ten Network. There was a couple other games I wanted to discuss. Oh, this one I'm definitely looking forward to. 2 p.m. ABC. I'll definitely have my eyes to the tube on this one. Number 4 Arizona and Jaden Bradley. They'll travel to number 2 Houston to face Kingston Billings in the Houston Cougars.
Yeah, that should be a very interesting matchup. There, Houston, I know they had a tough loss earlier this week, so we'll see what kind of mood they're in. And Arizona, they had a nice bounce back win against BYU. Kingston Flemings, he's one of those freshmen that if you guys haven't heard about, that's going to be a really good battle between him and Cole Piet. But also Braden Berries, as well, another freshman from Southern California. That should be a fun matchup between those two. And both these teams play completely different styles. So it's going to be interesting to see what style wins out. This is going to be their and it's still wide open in the Big 12 too. I know Kansas has the lead right now, but these two teams may have something to say about who wins that regular season Big 12 title. So it should be a fun one out there in Houston.
Yeah, speaking of John Calipari, I'm glad he lost the other night. They'll host Mizzou at 3 p.m. on ESPN2. Arkansas, the Razorbacks are ranked number 20 in the country right now. At 4:30 p.m., this is the games for tomorrow. 4:30 on TNT and True TV. Number 5, UConn will travel to Villanova. UConn 24-3. Villanova 21-5. You're talking about the Big East. That's very wide open and competitive as well. And of course, we go into the early evening primetime games. Number 25, Alabama will take on LSU on the road. That's at 5 p.m. on the SEC Network. And this game, as you mentioned, LaKeena, in a different location, but late in the year. I believe this is our nation's capital. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but number 1, Michigan will take on number 3, Duke. This definitely should be a classic matchup here.
Yeah, weird that they're playing it this late in the season, but you know how weird college hoops schedule makers are sometimes. But yeah, we remember those battles back in the 90s with the Fab Five and Duke, and I know they played a little bit in the 2000s. This is their first, I think, about 15 years they played each other. Yeah. So that should be a fun one out there where the Wizards and the Capitals play at the Capital One Arena. You know, that place is going to be rocking. You got to think that whoever wins this will probably have kind of have the edge, if you will, getting the number 1 overall seed in the NCAA tournament coming up in a few weeks. So it should be good. Of course, you got Cam Boozer, but also Yaxel Lundenberg. I hope I'm getting his name right. I've been mispronouncing the guy's name all season, but he is one of the top players in the Big Ten as well. If you guys haven't heard about him, of course, we all know about Cam Bruiser. Lundenberg is a veteran. He's a 5th-year senior. This should be a very fun matchup. It could be first to like 90, probably win. Although these two are pretty good defensively. I believe I forgot. You can correct me also if who's a favorite, but I think Michigan's a slight favorite. So this game's at a pickup.
Yep, 2.5-point favorite.
So they're this games at a pick 'em, so it'll be interesting to see which team can get the edge and make those big shots, make those big defensive shots that they need to win. So should be a fun one out there in their nation's capital.
Yep. We mentioned by number 10 Illinois. They'll visit UCLA to take on the Bruins. That's tomorrow night on Fox at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time on ESPN Plus. Why is this on Plus? I don't know. But number 11 Gonzaga, they'll host Pacific on ESPN Plus at 8 o'clock. And of course, number 6 Iowa State will travel to the state of Utah to face the number 23 ranked BYU Cougars. As we talked about with the Richie Saunders injury just now, and I think we did it on our last show too. BYU is sinking fast. AJ DeBansa, he's got to carry this team to get to 20 wins, and how the Cougars going to fare from here on out is up to him and the rest of the squad to pick up the slack.
Could we just see what happens out there in Provo against Iowa State? They got their revenge against Kansas, so we'll see if they can, get it going. Perhaps take control of the Big 12. Now, speaking of the Big 12, of course, Texas Tech and Kansas State. That's gonna be on the Big Fox at 1:30. JT Talbot, I should say, Obi's kid brother. Of course, sadly, he tore his ACL as the Red Raiders lost to Red Raiders lost to Bobby Hurley at Arizona State and Sun Devils. They really needed that win for morale there, but that's a big loss for that Texas Red Raiders squad. And I don't know, this could be interesting to see what happens with this, but we'll see if they can keep it going as we get into March now. Sunday's games, Michigan State, they host Ohio State on CBS at noon. So we'll see if Ohio State can continue polishing on their resume. They already got a big win against Wisconsin. Speaking of Wisconsin, they host Iowa on FS1 at 3 o'clock. That should be interesting to see what happens with that matchup. But those are games for this Sunday, and your schedule for this weekend college hoops.
One more programming note, LaKeena, regarding college basketball. Tomorrow, late in the morning, I believe it's around 11:30 a.m. Chicago time. I'm checking it right now via my TV screen. It's the NCAA March Madness men's bracket preview. No, it's not Selection Sunday, folks. It's not Selection Sunday. That's on March 15th. But this is a men's bracket preview. That's at 11:30 a.m. Central Standard Time tomorrow on CBS. It gives you a look at the top 16 teams in the country, what the committee, or what CBS thinks the committee is looking at right now. And I know they had the preview you're talking about CBS last week during the halftime of the Illinois, I forgot, Indiana game. I don't know if you saw LaKeena, but they had Illinois ranked number 3 or number 4 in that West region. And then the same region is Vanderbilt, UConn, and I think Arizona. I'm like, I can't see Illinois being those top 2 teams, right? Not right now. I know a lot can happen between now and Selection Sunday, but you want to tell me right now Illinois could beat Arizona? No. UConn? No. That's just me. But
they've been doing
I said, a lot can happen between now and Selection Sunday.
Yeah, I think you just said it. I think people, let me just remind folks that for people who will freak out about, this team's way too high or they're too low. Look, this is going to change between now and next few weeks. So if no reason to freak out now. Yeah, it's just a draft of what's going to become, top 16 teams in each of the regions. So relax, folks. So don't get married to these numbers. So I know there was a report that came out that Michigan has been lobbying for the Philly parts of that schedule in the East. Remember in the Midwest, I should say, because of course that would be those games would in the Midwest region would be Chicago. Chicago's hosting, UC's hosting those Midwest games in Sweet 16 in the Elite 8 this year in the Midwest region. That's because, of course, after the Big Ten tournament, those games are Friday, Sunday. The extra rest could definitely help, but we see it happen. We saw with Purdue a couple of years ago. They lost to a 16 seed, so I think I can see where Dusty May and the rest of the Michigan, program. I think that's why they want that. So we'll see. But yeah, don't get married to that particular top 16 schedule. No, the rankings. No, don't get married to those. It's all going to change within the next few weeks. So relax.
You're listening to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid LaKeena here with you as we wind down today's program. We still have a few minutes left in our sports potpourri segment. So if you have any last minute questions or comments, hop in those comments at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook and YouTube. Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. You're watching us live right now. If you're watching us on the replay, put a question or a comment in the comment section. We'll read those and perhaps address them on our next show. LaKeena, it's time for you to give us our Winter Olympic update. What else happened in the world of the Olympics besides the USA women's hockey team picking up gold yesterday by defeating Canada 2-1 in overtime?
Shout out to Alyssa Liu, who becomes the first American girl to win gold medal in women's figure skating. And I think, it was 22 years. Of course, Sarah Hughes, the last person to win it for the women. She also becomes the 8th American woman to win it. So, and if you saw her program, she was just fun and lively. Has a great personality. She's definitely going to have her share of endorsement deals. Her story is great. You saw her dad out there, cheering along, and of course, he was part of the Tiananmen Square. We saw the rise happen back in 1989. He escaped that, came to the U.S. Got married, 5 kids. Alyssa, one of them. She's the oldest of those 5, and now she actually quit the sport 2 years ago. And because it wasn't fun anymore. Now, she got back into a One World Championship last year. She's back, she got the gold medal for that, and just a great story all around. So just want to give her a shout out as well. Just a fun story, and just a fun person and a great athlete. Has a great personality. I think that hairstyle is going to be replicated by a lot of girls coming up in the next few weeks.
Yes. I say winners are often imitated, not duplicated. So congratulations to her. Now, not to flip it to the other side, LaKeena, but Jordan Stolz, who's been the early story of these Olympics, fell short. I actually saw the replay of this yesterday.
Yeah.
He fell short in a 1,500 meter speed skating. He ends up taking home the silver medal for the United States.
Yeah, I forgot the name of the Chinese skier that just edged him out, but still, you know what? He still has a shot to win another medal tomorrow as the men's mass start. That's basically a team event, so maybe he can lead the U.S. To a gold medal there. But he was still tied Eric Heiden for the most gold medals winning in the Olympics in the Winter Olympics, so he still has a chance of making that history. He was fine with it, I think. But that was a nice showing by him yesterday. So it's fine that he still has a shot at winning gold medal. He has a shot at doing that tomorrow. Elena Myers Taylor, if you haven't heard her story, she becomes the most decorated Black Winter Olympian. She won gold in the monobob, which for those who know what it's basically one person bobsled. That's basically what that means. And she wins it there at 41 years old. She's this is her 7th medal. She's won 6 other medals, 4 silver and 2 bronze. She actually has a chance to win another medal as we speak. I know the 2 women bobsleds going on right now, so I'm keeping an eye on that one if they're doing their 3rd run. So we'll but her story is great. Of course, she was a softball player, George Washington. She met her husband. I believe they met in college, I believe. And of course, she has 2 kids. Both have, I think one's deaf and the other has Down syndrome. So both of her kids have special needs. And if you saw the gold medal moment where she signed to her oldest, Nico, he was signed to him that she had won. I don't think that's processed. What that meant, but I'm sure if you saw, he realized, okay, yeah, his mom opened this up pretty cool. So that was a really cool story and a great history-making moment for her too.
Yeah, you love to see and hear stories like this of people overcoming obstacles. Because we all have them in life. You got to stay focused. You have to adjust things a little bit, but you stay focused on your goal. Work hard. Be determined. Don't let any distractions come your way because it's going to happen. But how you pivot through them and how you keep yourself within your character through all those trials and tribulations, that's what makes you a winner coming out on top. We all get derailed, but it's how you get back up. It sounds cliche, but it's very true.
Yeah, it is very true, and just a really great story. Like I said, she has another chance of winning a medal, So I think they're having a 3rd one right now. The women's 2 women bobsled. So we'll see. Her partner is actually Brittany Bowe, who's actually the fiance of Hillary and I. They actually got engaged yesterday, right before Hillary played the gold medal match. So that was really nice moment. Hopefully she can get a medal, and hopefully like another medal too. Now, as far as the men's hockey team is concerned, in about 20 minutes they'll play Slovakia for a right to play Canada in the gold medal game. And if you saw that match against Canada and Finland, they came back from 2 goals down. Just under 40 seconds left. Nate McKinnon, of course, who plays for the Avalanche, who's probably going to be the yearly clubhouse for MVP, I think. He scored a goal, a power play goal with just under 40 seconds left. And of course, Canada was able to pull out the win against Finland, and they go back to the gold medal game on the men's hockey side.
Yeah, like I said, Hughes going to come up big as well. In Hellebuck, he's been playing well these last 2-3 games in net for the United States. So the United States is going to need that type of effort again. I'm not going to say this should be a rollover, easy time for the United States, but like I said, this is around the competition for the medals. You're one step away from playing for the gold medal on Sunday. Everybody's going to be focused for the United States, and I think it's going to be tough, but I think they'll get it done. Talking about the Team USA, they'll get it done.
Should be a good matchup coming up. And should they beat Slovakia, they will play Canada. That's going to be on the game on Sunday, early Sunday morning out there in Italy. Also, I want to give a quick shout out to before I forget to Michaela Schriftman, who won the giant slalom. This is her second goal in that event. She kind of put out that this might be her last Olympics. No, this is her fourth Olympics, and third Olympics, I should say. I know she lost her dad last year, and she I know she talked to him about right before that run that she had in the slalom, and she be able to one goal. She dropped the F-bomb. So I would say more cursing in the Olympics. I know Alyssa Liu also dropped the F-bomb yesterday after she got that great free skate. So I'd say more cursing in the Olympics. Why not? Look, Snoop made it fashionable. What the heck? Why not? What the heck?
Yeah, it's your only moment in time, so let it fly.
Exactly. A shout out to, of course, Hillary Knight and Evan Bates, who will be the flag bearers for the U.S. In the closing ceremonies coming up on Sunday night as the games of the 20th Winter Olympiad will wrap up on Sunday. You can catch all the matches. I know there's still some curling events and skiing events. I know the U.S. men, they got a freestyle ski jumping event that's going on right now for medals. I think the U.S. has a good chance of getting a couple of medals, maybe even gold too. So you can catch it on all the NBC's family networks, NBC, Peacock, all the other NBC networks, all right there for you all the weekend as they wrap up the competitions with the closing ceremonies coming up on Sunday night.
And don't forget, the closing ceremonies will take place following the Lakers Celtics in Sunday night basketball contest on NBC around 8 p.m. or so. So stay tuned for that. You're listening to Second City Sports on Chicago City. LaKeena here with you as we wind down today's program. I know we still have a few minutes left. Do you have some sports media nuggets you want to share with the class?
I do. Now, there's going to be some big changes at the top for the men's tournament. It'll be Nate Burleson. He joins the college basketball studio crew as host for this Sunday. I know they got a couple of games, and we talked about that a minute ago for the Celebrate tournament. Ernie Johnson, who usually does it, he's going to be focused on inside the NBA, so that's why they brought in Nate Burleson. Look, he hosts Hollywood Squares, he hosts other shows, so he has a great personality. So I think this is fine. It's going to be interesting to see how he interacts with the guys from college. I'm sure all those guys are going to be out there, perhaps maybe teasing him because, of course, he played wide receiver for about 12 years. But he's a good host. He should be able to hold his own against them.
Yeah, especially if he works with Charles Barkley. If Charles Barkley still is with them this year for the basketball coverage, that's going to be something special. But like you said, I think this is going to be a sort of a new role for him. He has an example that he can look at. Remember Ryan Clark when Inside the NFL was on the CW the last couple of years. Ryan Clark, I think he still does this on occasion on ESPN, hosting NFL Live. So Nate Burleson has an example, a couple examples to look at, and Ryan Clark is one of them. So like you said, Nate Burleson has that it factor, that personality. So it's going to take him time a little bit just to be in that hosting chair, but I think he'll be fine eventually.
I agree with you on that front. Now, the NFL, of course, with the packages, next media deals, apparently, this is according to our friends at Awful announced that Amazon, YouTube, and Netflix will have to get 5-game packages in the next NFL media deals. With of course, the addition. Of course, in the back end, of course, with the Christmas games and such. This basically, it's a long article, but yeah, they basically said that in addition to the Thursday games, the Christmas games, that they would get maybe 5 of those games that would take away from the main folks like your Foxes and your CBSs. So that's about 15 games total in addition to those other games. So what do you think?
As the NFL is trying to grow this game to become a global game, and yes, they jumped on the streaming package services before anybody else in terms of the 4 major sports here in the United States. The only question I have out there is, like you said, with this next TV deal that's going to happen, and we don't have to worry about it for the next few years, but how I love my NFL Sundays, but as you mentioned, you taking games away. They're already doing it with the Black Friday game. They've done it for the to open up the regular season for the last couple of years. I think this year they're going to switch it to Wednesday and Thursday for this year, as far as the opening two opening games are concerned. But how much are you going to dilute NFL action on Sundays? And they're trying to for the last couple of years they're trying to keep that schedule intact because of NFL Red Zone. And if you notice, there's not so many late games in the last couple of years in various weeks. So, how much can you dilute NFL Sundays? I don't like it, and it looks potentially ugly. It's annoying me.
Well, and also too, looking at the ratings for this season, the ratings are actually pretty good. Both CBS and Fox, and even Sunday Night Football on NBC, and also as well as ABC, ESPN with their Monday night coverage. The ratings were huge. The ratings were even bigger than last season. So if you're the NFL, why would you want to play with that by bringing on by taking away games from network TV and then putting it out there? So that's a little bit odd to me. But what do I know?
Yeah, like I said, take away a few Sunday games here and there. I get it to grow the game, but you're diluting Sundays. And I know some people would say, and we saw this a little bit back in 2020, and when there were no fans in the stands. Are you going to eventually? Will this lead to eventually having NFL football at least 4 or 5 days out of the week at some point? I know NFL is talking about expansion to overseas. How they're going to get that done, I don't know. This ain't NFL Europe from the late 90s, early 2000s, when you served as a quote-unquote minor league system to the NFL, which didn't work eventually. But will this be NFL trying to expand their product to almost airing every night of the week? If so, I don't think that's going to be good for the long run.
Yeah, so it's gonna be interesting to see what they do. Like you said, we got a couple more years before they got to worry about that. But I think if you're the other networks, you're probably thinking, okay, wait a second here. You're gonna take away our games, just to give it to the other streaming services where the ratings are actually pretty good. It can make more ad value, ad dollars for those on the network than you would on the streaming platforms. We've seen those studies of that in the last few years. So you just see what happens with that.
All right, you're listening to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. LaKeena here with you. One other quick topic I want to get your thoughts on. I was watching a video on YouTube this morning. I think this was courtesy of Chatterbox Sports. That's a Cincinnati sports site and a YouTube channel discussing Cincinnati sports. And this person was talking about how the Cincinnati Reds are now joined the other 15 Major League Baseball teams. Their games are going to be produced by Major League Baseball starting this year. And this person was talking about how can Reds fans get the games. Of course, I think if you get correct me if I'm wrong for those of you listening in the chat, but I think if you just want to watch Cincinnati baseball, it's $100 a month. But if you want to get the whole streaming package, you have to pay to watch just Cincinnati Reds and the rest of baseball. I think it's $200 for the whole year. And if you want to just watch Reds baseball, it's $100 per year. Remember, this is the first year. Also, ESPN is going to take over the MLB TV package as well. So, and I know there's been some complaints about you can't get MLB games through this part of ESPN streaming. You got to go through another bundle. LaKeena, I know streaming is the future. The future is now, but you got to go through so many avenues. I know there's a lot of cord cutting that's been going on over the last decade or so, but if you got to go through so many avenues just to watch your team, no, thank you. There's other alternatives, which I'm not going to promote, but people are going to find other alternatives to watch their games. You don't have to pay 3, 4, 5 different damn services, go through 3 or 4, 5 different hurdles just to watch your team.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. It's got to kind of to the point where I think if you're someone, you're probably just better off just, hey, you know what? You might as well just kept cable or whatever services that you got. And it's kind of interesting though, like $200, that's a lot of money. Yeah, especially these days. So I wonder how many Reds fans are gonna go that route and perhaps may pay for them and such. So yeah, I'm interested to see how many Reds fans are gonna be willing to do that.
Yeah, and also too, as I mentioned, all these other teams that have joined join the Reds as far as getting the games produced by MLB Baseball, MLB Network. Of course, both the Florida teams, the Miami Marlins and Tampa Bay. I think the Atlanta Braves are still looking for over-air TV deal, if I'm not mistaken, and of course the Milwaukee Brewers and the as you mentioned, Cincinnati, St. Louis. They had their issues with the Bally Sport. Now FanDuel Sports no longer, and they'll have their games produced. So all these teams are the old model was when you put your games on a on the cable channel where the people were watching or not. That's how they got their money. Now that model, the regional sports network is all but abolished, and those games are still going to be on your local channel, cable provider, but the way these teams have received their money throughout the years, that model is no longer exists. It's all about streaming now. You know, MLB wants to put every single team under a package and sell it to you, but you got to tell the Dodgers to give up their deal with Spectrum. That's not going to happen. You got to tell Jerry Reinsdorf to give up CHSN. Good luck with that. You got to tell the folks at SNY, they're the TV home for the New York Mets. The Mets to give up that right. Good luck with that. Of course, the Yankees with the Yes Network. Good luck with that.
Gonna be very, like I said, gonna be very interesting to see what they do with this because, I'm looking forward to seeing, if guys, if folks are gonna be going that route. So we just see what they do with that. Now, real quick before we disperse, San Francisco is going to be very well rounded this year. We all know they now have to play a game in Melbourne, Australia against the Rams. Now they got to play in Mexico City. And I saw somewhere where they'll be traveling a lot this year. If you look at their schedule coming up this season, it'll be in November, December. They haven't said who's going to be playing that game, but that's going to be interesting to see. They're going to be their travel's going to be exceeding about 38,000 miles, which could be an NFL record. So if you're Kyle Shanahan and the rest of that group, you're not very happy about this. I don't think.
No, but they'll have to adjust to it just like any other team that has to play overseas and are outside the boundaries of the United States. But this is not San Francisco's first rodeo playing in Mexico City. I believe it was 2005, if I'm not mistaken, LaKeena. 21 years ago, they played the Arizona Cardinals in Mexico City. I believe that was a Sunday night game, if I'm not mistaken. Both teams were bad back then, but San Francisco, at least as a franchise, has experience, even though it's been 2 decades playing in Mexico City. So we'll see how this turn goes for them in this go around. And remember, I believe it was it was supposed to be the Rams and the Chiefs back in I want to say 2018, but the game was moved to Los Angeles because remember that field was not ready for those two teams to play. So you got to deal with field conditions, and I know the NFL's going to have their people down there to help have the field in great condition, but. Will they have a contingency plan just in case that happens again, like it did with the Rams and Chiefs back in 2018? We'll see.
Yeah, I'm thinking that maybe I think that they since then I think that stadium has hosted some soccer games at a particular stadium. So hopefully it's been about 5 or 6 years. So hopefully they'll have a better go of what kind of turf and stuff, conditions and stuff like that. I'm sure they'll be a lot more prepared for it this time around, but we'll see.
All right, LaKeena, take us home.
You follow McGee on the Twitter, X, and the IG.
You can follow yours truly, Sidney Brown, on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, that's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. SIDKID80. Be sure to download the Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Please follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms on Facebook, X, Instagram, and YouTube. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
Be sure to catch Second City Sports live in living color every Monday, every Friday from 12:15 to 2:15 p.m. Central Standard Time, right here on Sports Zone Chicago. One more again, as the kids would say. Be sure to catch Second City Sports live in living color every Monday, every Friday from 12:15 to 2:15 p.m. Central Standard Time, right here on Sports Zone Chicago.
And you can catch, if you missed a segment, if you missed an interview, if you missed our talks about college hoops, and if you want to go back to our Bears discussion earlier in the show, don't worry. You can catch it anytime, anywhere on the Sports Social College Facebook, YouTube channels. You can catch replays of our show, Sean Sierra Sports, the Smoke Fellas, and so much more. I know they're going to have a lot to say about the Bears stadium stuff coming up tomorrow. So make sure you guys check that out. Yeah, you know it. So yeah, so you can catch it anytime, anywhere on the Sports Social College Facebook, YouTube channels.
And you know we will provide.
It's a little bit cooler, a little bit more seasonal for this time of year. So all you folks out there, enjoy the rest of the last weekend of the Olympics. We got the U.S. men hockey team about to play right now as we speak against Slovakia. Gonna be watching that after we get off here. Of course, you got college hoops as we finish up their season in the next couple of weeks, both men and women. In the NBA, of course, you got spring training baseball. If you want to warm up and watch some action back in both Arizona and Florida. So all the sports are right there. Also, you got a little bit of soccer and golf as well. So you got your buffet of sports to enjoy this weekend. So for Sid, I'm LaKeena with Second City Sports on Sports Chicago, and we'll see you guys on Monday.
USA, holla!